Hi everyone, this is an anatomy and physiology video for healthcare students. In this video, we'll be talking about body cavities. So there's two major body cavities, a ventral or anterior cavity on the front side of the body, that's on the face side, and there's also a dorsal or posterior body cavity, that's on the back side. So let's talk about these body cavities. You can see from this lateral view or side view here on the left side of our picture, the cranial cavity and vertebral cavity make up the dorsal cavity on the back side of the body. On the front or anterior side, we actually have thoracic cavity, a diaphragm that divides the thoracic from abdominopelvic cavity, and the abdominopelvic cavity is actually divided into two, an abdominal and a pelvic cavity. So it does help to look at it from a side view to see how the ventral cavity does sit toward the front of the body, and the central nervous system is housed in the dorsal cavity on the back side of the body. So let's talk about the ventral body cavities first. We have in the thoracic cavity or chest cavity, pleural cavities that house our lungs. They sit on the lateral sides of the heart. The heart is housed in the pericardial cavity. The heart sits medially. That's in the middle of the chest. Now, above the heart is a little area called the mediastinum or mediastinum that houses the esophagus and thymus gland. So you'll notice in the picture it is sitting above or superior to the heart. Look for the diaphragm. It sits below the heart and lungs, and it creates a transverse division between the thoracic cavity and the abdominopelvic cavity. So once we're in the abdominopelvic cavity, you can see it's divided into two, an abdominal cavity and a separate pelvic cavity. Now that abdominal cavity is so large, it's divided into 4 quadrants and 9 regions. The pelvic cavity down below is where the bladder is housed. Let's take a look at the dorsal cavity. So the dorsal cavity is on the back side of the body. It is divided into 2 cavities, the cranial cavity, which houses the brain, and the spinal or vertebral cavity, which houses the spinal cord. Keep in mind, these are the 2 components of our central nervous system, and they are both housed in this dorsal body cavity, which is on the posterior side. So let's do a little review. Let's go through and name these body cavities. Starting with number 1, notice this points to cavities 2 and 3. On the opposite side of the body, we have number 4, which includes cavities 5, 7, and 8. So which one of these cavities is classified as ventral? That's number 4. So the ventral cavity houses thoracic, which is 5, abdominal, which is 7, pelvic, number 8, or combine them and make abdominopelvic, which is number 6. Which cavity here is the dorsal cavity? That's number 1. So number 1 is dorsal. It houses 2, the brain, which is in the cranial cavity, and 3, the spinal or vertebral cavity, which houses the spinal cord. So you'll notice here the diaphragm is just drawn as a transverse plane. That is what divides the ventral cavities into a superior and an inferior compartment. I hope this video helps you understand body cavities. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please follow my channel.